Good evening and welcome to News Hour. Coming up, the outgoing UN resident coordinator to Sierra Leone, Sunil Segai, outlines his achievements made during his term of office. Political Party Registration Commission, PPRC, to set up a 5-man committee to conduct investigations on the spate of hate speech. And Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs, says a policy review in the 21st century for youth affairs is critical and must be embedded with lots of sensitivity. Well, those were the headlines. Before we go to the news in detail, let's first take the coronavirus preventive message.
You see how this woman wearing mask? Now so you say for wear your mask. If for cover your nose and your mouth all time. No use mask way small for you. No take the mask and put on your chin. Not to chin guard. No wear your mask and left your nose na door. Because now you know small the virus they pass for enter your body. Where you wear mask, if for cover your nose and your mouth, take go under your chin. If you not wear and so, it not go protect you. So wear your mask fine all time.
Please stay safe. Coronavirus is deadly. Well, my name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. This is the news live on SMPC Television. The outgoing United Nations resident coordinator to Sierra Leone, Sunil Segai, has said that he is leaving the country with mixed feelings as his tour of duty ends after 4 years in the country. He said that he is excited that he is leaving behind all what he has accomplished since April 2016, underlining that he witnessed numerous events. Mr. Sunil Segai spoke more about his term of office in Sierra Leone with Joseph Ibwenda Kapua.
In 2016, the preparations, the technical preparations and political discussions before the elections were going on. Since then, it has been, if you will, the aftermath of the elections. It has been the transfer of power from the government from one elected government to another. A peaceful transfer of government, I have to add. The planning and formulation of the new medium-term national development plan, which the UN, of course, supported quite extensively, and then, needless to say, this year with the coronavirus pandemic, which has, of course, had an enormous impact on Sierra Leone, just as it has had on the rest of the world. So there has really been very little time for sort of rest in between the various events, if you can call them that, but the various phases, at least, of the life of Sierra Leone during these 4 years.
Now, in June, I quite remember June of 2019, you called on all political actors in Sierra Leone to, and I quote, engage in meaningful dialogue to reduce tensions and focus on addressing the important development needs of the country and its people. To what extent are you satisfied with this meaningful dialogue you suggested?
Well, we have always, and even before the elections, called for dialogue and, of course, called for peaceful political processes, which is what we do promote. My mandate here is not actually a political mandate. Unlike my predecessors, when there was a peacekeeping mission and a political mission, my mandate is first and foremost development. And when I talk about politics, it is politics in the context of development, because, as we say in the UN, there's no peace without development, there's no development without peace. But peace is many things. Peace is not just the absence of war, the absence of conflict. It is really also the presence of an environment that is conducive for development. And my purpose or my reason for sending these messages, and I really want to emphasize that our messages have been the same messages to all sides of the political spectrum. We are not differentiating whether we are talking to one party or another. We're very consistent in the message that we're sending, is that the issue of national development should not be a matter of party politics. Of course, you can discuss whether you should emphasize one aspect or another through the national plans, and the national plans are, of course, formulated by the various governments. But I do believe that this country is facing some very deep development challenges, and although, of course, before the Ebola crisis, we had seen that the country was moving upwards and moving towards becoming a middle-income country. Unfortunately, with the Ebola crisis, and despite the recovery, there were losses in development. And now with the Sustainable Development Goals, with only 10 years remaining before those goals should be met, there is an urgency in moving on with the development. Eradication of poverty, food security, education, governance, all of these are issues that exist no matter who's in government. And therefore, the message is, everyone has a common agenda of development. Let us gather around that common agenda.
That was the United Nations Resident Coordinator to Sierra Leone, Sunil Segai, ending that interview with Joseph Ibenda Kapua. Well, we'll bring you a repeat of the full interview after the news. The Political Party Registration Commission, PPRC, has vehemently condemned the spate of hate speeches by people using social media and is calling on political parties to come out and condemn the act. Its chairman, Abdullahi Bangura, told the SRBC that a 5-man committee has been set up to conduct an independent investigation and warned that very strong actions will be instituted against any party supporter found culpable. In an interview with Ibrahim Samora, he lauded the Secretariat of the SLPP to outrightly condemn hate speech of any of its supporters.
I'm very much concerned about the proliferation of hate speeches on the social media. So as a commission, yesterday we came out with a statement, in the first place condemning the peddlers of those hate speeches, and not only condemning them, calling political parties to go beyond distancing themselves, but to also further denounce and condemn the activities of these people. And apart from that press statement, we've also set up a 5-man investigative committee to look into the activities of these miscreants on social media.
So, Mr. Bangura, you say your commission is concerned. To what extent? Because it has taken over months. People are hearing these audios on different platforms.
Oh yes, as a commission we've been doing our bits. We've been engaging parties. But that besides the point, now we think it's a time that we should establish a committee to actually look into the activities of these people and try to ascertain whether or not they have any link or connection with the registered political parties. We also want to know if any of the political parties is leveraging from the unfortunate utterances of these people for political advantage. We also want to know the connection between those hate speeches and the recent violence in the country. And after the investigation, the committee will make recommendations to the commission. Then thereafter, we'll see what we can do to implement those recommendations. Namely, the connection between, if any, these social media gurus disseminating hate speech and inflammatory statements, directing unprintable invectives to very senior citizens of this country. We will want them to look into that if there is any connection between them and political party. And we also want to know if any of the political party is taking advantage of these unfortunate utterances on social media to gain political advantage, and also want to see how much each of the political parties have done to ensure that they correct or rather negate some of these negative messages that guys are sending out there. Fortunately, yesterday I saw a press release from the SLPP And they have not only distanced themselves now, this time they've gone ahead to also denounce and condemn those people peddling those hate speeches in their name. So that was a very laudable venture, and we appreciate their candor, and we'll expect that other political parties will emulate.
So if at the end, and your investigation from your five-man committee will prove that certain political party supporters are involved in such behavior, are there penalties?
Certainly there are penalties. We will not only name and shame them, but we will also ensure that the penalties prescribed in the Political Parties Act number 3 of 2002 will be implemented, but that will depend on the recommendations we will get from the committee. So I will not want to preempt any.
And what kind of penalties? And what kind of penalties are we expecting? Are we going to naming and shaming or other thing else?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It could be one of them, but at this moment I will not want to preempt what will be the recommendations of the committee. This is why we have not taken anything for granted. We don't want to name people without evidence. So the committee is going to do their work based on what they will tell us by way of recommendation. That will inform our next move.
So, Chairman, also there is an issue that is trending on social media that has to do that your commission has banned all political activities, including conventions.
Yes, yes, I've been hearing people making that kind of unfounded claim on electronic medias and print medias. But unfortunately, that's not a true representation of what we have done. We have not banned any convention or conferences of political parties.
People are saying that the ruling SLPP party, they just had a conference wherein they review the party's constitution. And also they are saying that they followed all the procedures to ensure that they are in line with all the rules and regulations of this country. And what has been your input in that mission?
Yes, they did, but I want to clarify something that people have also been, unfortunately, accusing us of. That we have allowed the SLPP to do their convention, ratify their constitution, and we have also sat on that constitution to do our own bit on it. I want to clarify this because the SLPP had their conference at Catco House before COVID-19, and that was when they ratified their constitution. After the ratification, as the law requires, Section 24 of the Political Parties Act, they forwarded the ratified constitution to us for publication in the Gazette, which we did. Because, that will not violate or infringe any of the regulations that are now in existence to kind of prevent the spread of COVID. So we had it published in the Gazette. We invited objections from the public. The objections came in, 5 of them. So because of COVID, because normally the use of it is to call the objectors, and you also call the party in issue to come to the commission and sit and address those objections. But because we knew there are regulations now forbidding the gathering of people, above 100. We decided not to call them to the office. So we forwarded objections to the political party in issue, that's the SLPP, and asked them to respond to those objections, which they did in writing.
That was the chairman of the Political Party Registration Commission, Abdullahi Masiyambe Bangura, ending that interview with Ibrahim Samora. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Andrew Sori, has said that a policy review in the 21st century for youth affairs is critical and must be embedded with lots of sensitivity. He was speaking during the presentation of a youth position paper on the review of the National Youth Policy at the Youth Ministry Conference Halls, Sheikha Stevens Stadium. Thomas Neal was there and now reports.
We deem it fit for me to be given the honor to lead the process to present to you this piece of paper accompanying with my co-presenter.
In celebration of this year's International Youth Day in Sierra Leone, the Center for Coordination of Youth Activities, CCYA, through the project titled Expanding the Space, Socio-Economic Empowerment for Marginalized Rural Poor Youth, engages participants from among youth groups, youth leaders, youth service organizations and media in a National Youth Advocacy Consultative Conference on intense discussions around the review of the National Youth Policy that is currently ongoing through the Ministry of Youth Affairs, of which CCYA is one of the expert advisory panel in the review process. The core objective and aim of the Youth Advocacy Consultative Conference was to raise awareness and encourage young people to add their voices and make relevant input in the ongoing review process for inclusive participation and effective implementation of the policy. CCYA and the youth leaders provided technical guidance and support to youth participants to identify the lapses in the outdated youth policy, make relevant recommendations, and ultimately develop a youth position paper they will present and submit to the review committee through the Ministry of Youth Affairs for consideration and action. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Andrew Sori, said the position paper presented by the CCYA goes to enrich the process of the review and deepens the diversity of the various viewpoints, adding that the presence of the ministry demonstrates the inclusivity of the process.
The consultant now is going to have a lot of work to do to sieve through all of the issues raised, so that at the end of the day, our youth policy will be a very rich one. Currently, we are validating the draft. We have gone to the southern province. We have gone to the eastern province. We have gone to the north. And we are now looking forward to, the north of course includes northwest.
The Executive Director, CCYA, Abigail Stevens, said they hope that the concerns on the youth position paper will be considered and immediate actions taken, now that the ministry is currently in a validation process of the draft report of the revised National Youth Policy.
Moreover, the vast majority of challenges young people continue to face and grapple with in communities such as poverty, unemployment, literacy, disability issues, sexual gender-based violence, low participation in decision-making, and emerging issues like the COVID-19 outbreak.
Some of the gaps identified in the 2014 youth policy includes policy does not provide any operational link between the various youth structures from chiefdom, zone, district to national, no clear mandate and functions of the youth councils, and no organizational framework for the formulation, administration, and operations of the youth councils. There are no clear mechanisms and modalities in the document that enforce participation and how it can be achieved, especially in decision-making levels. The position paper also identified institutional and policy challenges, such as the channels of reporting youth issues and concerns captured in the 2014 youth policy are unclear and do not ensure results and solutions to youth problems. The policy overemphasizes government commitments to every initiative tailored in the policy, and that in itself suggestive of the fact that the government has the financial and other technical support of youth. On the contrary, the continued reliance on international organizations and other donor partners clearly explain the inadequacies of the policy framework, because donor partners fund almost every project implemented to seek the welfare of youth. It is expected that the new policy will have an active lifespan of 5 years, hence capture and reflect all major current trends and emerging issues on youth development, and to reiterate certain concerns.
On the 15th September, pre-primary schools will reopen in the country after all schools were closed down in March this year due to the coronavirus pandemic. In a press release by the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, primary and secondary schools will be reopened on the 5th of October. Some schools before the coronavirus outbreak operated on a shift system. In some schools, the number of students in a class is more than 50. How will students keep at arm's length or observe social distancing in schools that are populated? Our reporter Aminata Fofana has been finding out in the eastern part of Freetown, and now reports.
Ahmadiyya Muslim Secondary School has about 3,000 students for both junior and senior secondary schools combined. Before the outbreak, there were more than 60 students in a class. School authorities have decided to cut down on that number to 50. In this classroom, it would be impossible for students to keep at arm's length apart due to the sitting arrangements and the size of the classroom. This would require more furniture and classrooms to accommodate the students.
But the problem we have now is infrastructure. It's very, very important. We went around, we saw the new building, put up a 16 classroom building. We even want to complete it to a 3-story building. We don't have the finances, but we expect government to come in to chip in so that we'll be able to have this building so that we can accommodate all our students. Because you know we have to promote our students and we have a very large number. You know, we cannot drive them away because people want to learn. And the only thing we can do for us to have them is to make sure that we have enough city accommodation for them.
At St. Helena Secondary School, there were more than 40 students in a class. When school reopens, a classroom will accommodate about 30 students to keep them apart. The school has already received a huge consignment of face masks and wash facilities. The school wants to step up measures in preventing COVID-19 by using thermometers to check the temperatures of students before they enter the class.
We at the school have decided that even the market women are not allowing the school compound anymore, just to keep them away from clustering into area. We ask them to bring their lunch, so they buy their lunch to school and then their water, do a lunch break. In class.
Bishop Johnson Memorial School seems to be well prepared with hand washing materials and have also decided to keep the number of students to 35.
And at the moment, Bishop Johnson School, we are running on the one shift for both JSS and SS. And so we don't have much classrooms to maintain that social distance.
School authorities seem to be well prepared for the reopening on both dates, with face masks and hand washing materials already on standby to prevent students from getting the virus. Students are currently on WASC, which has given school authorities a fair idea of how to deal with the new measures for students and teachers. SLBC News, Aminata Fufana.
The Moyamba District Students Union has paid a courtesy call to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Anthony Brewer. According to the President of the Union, the visit was to commend Mr. Brewer for his support of their and dedication to the Moyamba district, and also to congratulate him on his appointment as the Attorney General and Minister of Justice under the government of President Bio. Sori Ibrahim Samra reports.
The students told Mr. Brewer that part of their activities was to engage prominent people who hail from the district so they could discuss ways to develop their districts. They informed the minister that they would be embarking on various educational activities towards the development of education and to foster positive change on COVID-19 in the southern districts. President of Moyamba District Students Union, Alfred Sise, said the district has produced prominent people that have contributed and are still contributing positively to national development, like the current Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Anthony Brewer. He commended the Attorney General for his contribution in the districts and the country and thanked President Bio for entrusting their kind with one of the key offices in the country. Mr. Sise opined that the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice was one of the anchors of development because it dispenses justice and equity.
We need absolute performance from the Attorney General because we want one day we sit back and say, when our brother was there, that was what he did. So we came today, positively reminded him, and we hope that he will perform to the best of their ability.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Anthony Brewer, thanked the students for paying him a visit, noting that he has always worked for the entire Moyamba district and not just for his hometown, Tayama. He assured the students of his support towards their programs for the district and admonished them to continue working hard on their studies so they would be able to contribute to development of not only Moyamba district but Sierra Leone as a whole.
Get education in a meaningful
meaningfully contribute towards the development of this country. And education is one thing nobody can take away from you. If you are educated, all other people depend on you, whether your mothers, your fathers, will benefit from it.
Moyomba District Student Union is a body of over 300 students from various institutions of higher learning that include Forobe College, Jala, Commerce, and IPAM, among others. SLBC News, Suri Ibrahim Kamara reporting.
The Business and Professional Women International Freetown branch is celebrating 90 years of existence. BPW International is one of the most influential international networks of business and professional women with affiliates in over 100 countries in the world. Members include influential women, leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, executives, professionals, and young business women. Aminata Fofana reports.
The Business and Professional Women BPW International Freetown branch, according to the President Agatha Johnson, has been engaged in advocacy, education, mentoring, networking, skill building and economic empowerment programs and projects around the country.
In addition to that, we want to develop the capacity of our members, so organize seminars that are beneficial to our members. Not only that, we travel and interact at various conferences in other countries to see what other members of the organization are doing. And then if I can fast forward to this year with the COVID-19, we have adopted the CTC of Nungu, or water treatment center of Nungu, and we have provided toiletries and other necessities to them. We are going to be supporting them on an ongoing basis. In addition to that, the Freetown City Council, we provided 8 wash stations. So we are very active.
Keynote speaker, Chairperson Women on Boards Network Sierra Leone, Amy Green, said this celebration aimed to unite business and professional women in all parts of the country and empower them to achieve women economic independence in their businesses.
All have the similar problems and face having to cope with their situation. In effect, finding new ways to stay afloat, to survive the effects of the devastation as best as possible, and as always, the bottom line. The bottom line is the key, and it runs through almost, if not all, of the challenges. Many have not managed well and have gone under. Others are struggling to stay afloat. For citizens of small, poor, developing countries, such as Sierra Leone, as the West like to call us, the impact has been far-reaching and has affected our economies.
The 19th celebration ended with members celebrating their immense contribution towards worldwide networking and cooperation between business and professional women. Reporting for SLBC, I am Aminata Fofana.
A reproductive, sexual and health rights campaigner, Planned Parenthood Association of Sierra Leone, has, together with a group known as Concern for Disabled Women and Children, provided free contraceptives and family planning services to disabled women of the Help Empower Polio Persons organization at the PWD compound, Pademba Road in Freetown. The move by PPSL was part of its community outreach to provide sexual reproductive health and family planning information and services for selected disabled women groups in the Western Urban. Ibrahim Samoa reports.
Access to sexual reproductive health and family planning services for disabled women in the country has been one major challenge facing them. The provision of these free contraceptives and family planning services to these physically challenged women here at PWD compound is to help address sexual reproductive health issues and the need for family planning methods. The women are provided with contraceptives and family planning services such as microgynon, microlute, condoms, coil, injections, net and Depo-Provera and tubal ligation, among others. Director of Programs PPSL, Thim Saidu-Kagbo, said PPSL provided the free contraceptives for the disabled to mark the association's 61st anniversary in providing reproductive health and related issues in Sierra Leone. He underscored the importance of family planning, noting that the provision of these contraceptives is to help control their birth rates.
Marking the 61st anniversary of the association, we want to really see how we could expand our services further in signing memorandum of understanding with marginalized groups and to see how we could train service providers among the marginalized groups so that we can increase accessibility and increase demand creation in the provision of sexual and reproductive health and rights services in Sierra Leone.
Chair Lady, Help Empower Polio Persons Organization at PWD, Esther Kalon, lauded PPSL for providing free family planning services and contraceptives, noting that they have been looking forward for such help. She said they have been suffering and discriminated from accessing such facilities in health centers.
You're watching News Hour, coming to you live on SABC Television in Freetown. Over 50 children and persons with disabilities across the country have benefited from cooking condiments and hygiene materials from the NGOs One Family People, Disability Awareness Action Group, and the Ministry of Social Welfare. The donation was one of the many supports they have received during these trying times to ease the economic and social burden on them, with every sector battling COVID-19 in the country. Jonathan Turner reports.
The smiles of these children have been restored again after receiving the condiments and sanitary kits. Each of them received a bag of 25 kilogram rice, a gallon palm oil, toiletries, sanitary kits, and small amount of cash. But the items will perhaps only keep them this smiling for about a month. This gesture, which is a booster of the beneficiaries' nutrition and health, according to the program's manager of the Disability Awareness Action Group, Francis Buya, he is not the first.
We have a program that we are taking care of 72 children with disabilities that we are sponsoring to school. They are school-going children, but they are children with disability. But OFP usually come in, they provide the funding through Lillian Fund Foundation. Since the strike of COVID-19 and everything just stands still, it's very difficult for children with disabilities to survive. So we collaborate together and ask the partners organization, Linear Fund Foundation, UNDP, Ministry of Social Welfare, and others to come together, donate some items, food items, and sanitation parts, and also COVID materials for our beneficiaries.
The recipients were very appreciative of the package, especially at challenging times like this. They promise to continue adhering to the COVID-19 preventive measures, even though things have been difficult for them.
So the donors out there, I say a big thanks and appreciation to them for this kind of help we received today. I'm so happy, and the one whole thing is very, very, very interested to get an items that we received today.
In this corona time, things are hard for us disabled. Today we come today and these people give us something for us to manage our lives and to keep ourselves. So many disabled are out there in the streets. They don't have anything to eat, anything to upkeep themselves. But today, Dan and through the Ministry of Social Welfare call us to help us. so that we will come out of the street and we will stop starving from hunger. And I want to thank the government, social welfare, children's affairs, and Down Foundation and One Family.
Therefore, members of the donor organizations have pledged to continue such support to this category of less privileged kids and persons with disabilities across the country. For SABC News, Jonathan Turner reporting.
Meanwhile, defense lawyers for Mohamed Kamarimba Mansare said his co-accused Marion Aruni in the ongoing matter on sexual penetration of a 15-year-old girl are to file an appeal against a ruling by Justice Samuel Otelo for a trial by judge alone at the Sexual Offense Model Court. As Amina Shnyadi Brahma reports, Justice Samuel Otelo on Wednesday, 19th August 2020, overturned a ruling he had earlier made for a judge and jury on the said case.
One of Kamarimba's defense counsels, lawyer Amadou Kouma, said they vehemently opposed to the ruling by the presiding judge for a trial by a judge alone. The objection, according to him, is in the interest of justice and for speedy and fair trial, and therefore called for a stay in the matter. But the lead defense counsel, lawyer Emmanuel Safa Abdullahi, on the other hand, said they do not want a stay in the matter. Rather, he preferred the matter continues while they pursue the appeal for a trial by a judge and jury. He, however, apologized for the confusion on their side and told the court they have no intention to delay the proceedings. The state prosecutor Umu Sumare responded saying that the actions of the defense are to frustrate the efforts of the prosecution, whose witnesses were present in court to testify. But with the defense twist, she cannot proceed. Her fear is if the defense succeeds at the Court of Appeal, all what has been done at the Sexual Offences Model Court would be in futility. Mohamed Kamarimba Mansare, who is chairman of the Alliance Democratic Party ADP, is standing at the Sexual Offences Model Court in Freetown on 7 counts ranging from sexual penetration, conspiracy, and to meeting a child for sexual purposes. The victim's aunt, Marion Aruni, is accused to have conspired with Mohamed Kamarimba Mansare to commit the said act, but both have denied the allegations in court. They have been refused bail for the 3rd time and the matter adjourned to Friday, 28th August this year. SLBC News, Amina Nyande Brahma.
The Australian Meteorological Agency advises the government on all aspects of meteorology and climate-related issues to assist early warning systems with the fundamental goal of improving and saving lives and property. Now, the Australian Meteorological Agency has customized training on tailor-made daily weather forecast to build on the technical skills of journalists to interpret the seasonal and daily weather forecast for decision-making and onward dissemination to the general public. Howard Williams also took part in the training and sent in this report.
The most direct rationale for convergence with the media is to spread the knowledge surrounding the weather and climate so that media houses will better serve as a dissemination platform for the output of data generated by weather stations and trained personnel of the Meteorological Agency. The training began with an outline of the functions of the Sierra Leone Meteorological Agency by Deputy Director General of SLMet, Gabriel Paca, who delivered a PowerPoint presentation on the Act of Parliament that qualifies them as an agency. The selected group of media practitioners was taken through more presentations that covered some of the equipment used in manned and remote weather station collection points. Not only does such equipment monitor different aspects of the weather, but also provides data that is useful for aircraft pilots, sea navigators, and farmers who depend on the weather to determine their activities. Weather prediction was underscored as essential for social or economic activities such as construction that require planning and could be adversely affected by the weather. Deputy Director General Gabriel Paca provided their agency's updated weather forecast template and explained the various aspects. Close observers of the forecast would realize that it covers the rainfall probability, its duration, span and intensity, the likelihood of thunderstorms, the temperature, dew, fog, humidity, wind direction and speed at various times of the day. Most importantly, this year's seasonal forecast is holding true to its prediction as presenting a high flood risk. It was disclosed that the Met Agency is planning to install color-coded high water gauges in coastal communities to monitor the threshold of flooding and serve as a practical way for community volunteers to react in adverse weather conditions. In addition to monitoring flood-prone areas and the disaster risk capacity of vulnerable areas, the Sierra Leone Meteorological Agency will carry through on its communication model and propose expressions of interest to media houses for weather forecast broadcasting, followed by more substantial agreements. Fostering more engagement with the community was the primary impetus of the training session, as the media practitioners will be relied upon as focal points for further training and partners in the broadcast of weather forecasts. The Deputy Director General explained that there is already a daily weather forecast available on Facebook and the Meteorological Agency website, while the SMS forecast is also available by subscription. As an immediate step, the media practitioners who attended the training formed a WhatsApp group to share information on the weather.
The heavy downpour on Tuesday, 26 August 2020, has left Bangura compound in the Poti community in utter disaster. Victims of the disaster are calling on the government and other humanitarian organizations to speedily intervene by providing temporary shelter for them and their children, as they have nowhere to go, especially during the rainy season. At Mawaf, the disaster led to the loss of a life of a sick old woman who was hit by a mudslide in her room. Maya Masuma reports.
Voices of victims of the heavy downpour on Tuesday, 26 August 2020, that has left many people homeless and property worth millions of leones destroyed at Wright Street, Bangura compound in the Poti community. This place seen on the screen used to host more than 50 people, including children. It was comprised of 6 households, but as it is now, they have all been made homeless. When I arrived at the scene, it was raining. I met children and women under a broken house crying, as they had nowhere to go and no idea where to find food.
Yeah, we need government support. We need government support. We need shelter. Anywhere we will go, we are suffering. We are more than 50. We don't have anywhere to go. We thank our neighbors who have helped us for the moment. Anyone who can help, we will appreciate. We are orphans. We have our little ones with us. Please help us.
Ahmed Kamara was also met sitting alone close to his broken room, devastated, even though they were all warned to vacate this unsafe area. We asked him why he was putting his life in danger.
Yeah, I stressed, mommy, you know, and it's a place not easy to forget.
I am stressed up. In this country, it is really difficult to find a shelter. I am thinking, where will I go? I used to stay here with my brother and his family. Now we are homeless, so I'm worried as I don't have anywhere to go.
I'm not left to God now. Come here, I don't know where to go.
For Aissatou Tarawali, it was only through divine intervention that she was able to survive. She said they were all sleeping when their houses started broken. She told SLBC News that they were alerted by a neighbor who was just coming from the early morning prayers, who saw that the houses were about to fall and informed them. Aissatou said they have nowhere to go and they are all calling on the government for support. Other people around this area are also worried about their safety. Many had already left their houses because they felt unsafe. Abubakar Sise, who has a 3-story building close to the disaster area, said he and his family couldn't sleep. He said they could hear the water running under the building, which made them restless. Abubakar said for now, he and his family have left the house because it has developed many cracks, turning them into death traps. This disaster is yet to finish in this community. Right up there is a huge crack that is still serving as a death trap for residents in this compound. And also there are other houses surrounding the vicinity. For residents in this compound, the only way is for government to come into their aid to see how best they can help them in saving lives in this community. Since 2019, this area was spotted as a disaster-prone area. According to Umar Menjo Sise, who is from the Disaster Management Department, Office of the National Security. Mr. Sise said the situation is very unfortunate, but it was also good that there were no life lost.
Yeah, we get volunteers in here.
We have trained volunteers that are located at all disaster-prone areas. This area was identified as a disaster-prone area since 2019, and we alerted them to leave. But most of them were crying that they don't have anywhere to go. But now that this has happened, we will inform organizations that have more expertise in disaster management to see how best they can also help.
Various partners will get hands in disaster management. How they will see for help them with anything we available.
Meanwhile, organizations like Red Cross Society and Save the Children, we are all present at the scene, registering the victims. After Poti, we also visited Mowaf, where 67-year-old Ntuma Kuruma lost her life. SLBC News arrived on the scene, where the remains of the late woman were being recovered. Mowaf Community Harbour Master Jibril Sise told SLBC News that it was a mudslide that hit the old woman in her room while sleeping, and she couldn't survive it. He said the remains of the old woman have been taken to the Connaught mortuary, while they have asked people to move from the building as it is now unsafe for them. The harbour master explained that the heavy downpour on Tuesday was responsible for the mudslide because the soil was weak and overloaded with water. Meanwhile, evidence is clear that climate change is affecting weather patterns, increasing the frequencies and intensities of extreme weather events. Unfortunately, the evidence is also clear that those in the poorest communities are disproportionately affected. For SLBC News, Maria Masuma reporting.
Well, it's now time for stories making the headlines in Africa. In the African news tonight, French President Emmanuel Macron has been urged to intervene on Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara's bid for third term in October election, which his opponents say is unconstitutional. Former Ivory Coast rebel leader Guanamo Soro has told President Macron in a letter that Ivorians have noticed France's deafening silence on the matter. He said France had hailed Mr. Ouattara's initial announcement that he would not seek re-election, but had been quiet after the president accepted his party's nomination for a third term. Mr. Soro and former President Laurent Gbagbo have been barred from vying because of their previous convictions. A Kenyan governor and 4 of his children have been arraigned in court over the alleged embezzlement of public funds amounting to 73 million Kenyan shillings or $675,000. Governor Okoth Obado of Migori County in western Kenya is accused of indirectly receiving the money through his children, who received multiple payments from companies trading with the county government. According to the public prosecutor, the money was used to, among other things, pay for his children's school fees, upkeep, maintenance and medical bills in Australia and the UK. Mr. Obado and his co-accused have pleaded not guilty on the charges and asked to be released on bail pending trial. The governor and his children were arrested on Wednesday after being summoned for questioning by anti-corruption officials. And finally, Mali's school leader say that after President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta has been released from detention and is at his home. He was arrested during last Tuesday's military takeover and has later announced his resignation as president. The coup came amid growing dissatisfaction over the government's handling of the economy and the jihadist conflicts in the north. It is not yet clear if the former president is restricted to his home. Mr. Keïta's release has been a key demand of Mali's neighbors and international organizations, including the African Union and European Union. West African mediators say the coup leaders want to stay in power for a 3-year transition period. They had earlier said they were not interested in power. Well, that's it for the African News Summary. It's now time for sports updates.
Hello and welcome to Sport Updates on the News with me, Francis Barnard. In this edition, we'll bring you the latest on what seems to be the end of a very productive era between the world's best footballer, Lionel Messi, and his childhood club, Barcelona.
And again, they're making it up as they go along.
It is difficult to imagine Lionel Messi playing for a club other than Barcelona, but rumors that the Argentine's time at the Camp Nou is approaching an end is now imminent, with the superstar informing the club of his desire to leave. This has been fueled by the fact that Barca have endured a dismal season which saw the club missed out on La Liga glory before being kicked out of the Champions League. There have been several instances in the past where Messi has been linked to a move away from Barcelona, but this is the first time that the club has acknowledged that a formal request has been made. For quite some time now, reports have emerged out of Spain about Messi not being happy with the club management and its president Josep Bartomeu in particular. Report also states that Messi was unhappy that in the last 5 years, the club had let go of several key players, including Brazilian star Neymar. Messi spoke out openly against management for the first time, saying in a social media post that certain people in the club were trying to cast a few players in an unforgivable light, according to the BBC. Barcelona's embarrassing defeat to Bayern in the Champions League 2 weeks ago is seen as the tipping point. The result, experts said, highlighted the ongoing problems at the club and demanded a complete overhaul. There have also been counterclaims that Messi was part of the problem at the Barcelona due to his high wages, which severely affect the club's finances. The club, however, believed that there is a clause which tied the player to the club until 2021 with a €700 million buyout. But Messi seems determined to leave the club no matter what. The clause was inserted due to a hefty buyout package, which would make a normal transfer unaffordable for most of the clubs. Messi, who has been a keen follower of English football for many years, has a strong knowledge of the Premier League, and it is very clear that City seems one of the few teams capable of meeting his wage expectations. And on a football level, Messi knows Guardiola would develop a team framework which allows him to excel, something he has been missing at Barcelona for the past few years. A move to City with deep pockets would mean Messi would play under Pep Guardiola, with whom he had some of his best years. It must be noted that even with Argentina, Messi had retired after developing differences with the country's federation. He made a U-turn and returned to the international fold after changes in the higher management. The six-time Ballon d'Or winner made his debut for Barca in 2004 and has won the Champions League 4 times. Messi joined Barcelona at age 13. He made his first team debut at 16 and since then has helped the team scale unprecedented heights and establish the Catalan side as the best football club in the world.
Again, gets away from Benega.
Barcelona forward Lionel Messi has sent shockwaves through the football world by asking to leave the club this summer. Messi is said to be dissatisfied with the general direction of the club and with some of their dealings in the transfer market. According to reports, Messi wants Barcelona to remain competitive, especially in the Champions League. And that does not seem to be happening, therefore he's asking for his exit. That's all we have time for in this edition of Sport Updates on the News. I am Francis Bernard. Thanks for watching and keep watching the SLBC.
Well, after a fruitful and long career at Barca, Lionel Messi is retiring. Well, it's now time for entertainment. Let's see what they have for us.
Hello, welcome to the entertainment news. I am Daphne Kimama-Macaulay. Salon na country, and Sierra is indeed a country. This meant on social media is another level of comedy I can't resist. See what they did to LHA, Frances Bernard, Cardinal, Patrick Salia, Musa Tumbo, and the list goes on and on. What really happened? We don't know, but we continue to enjoy them anyway. Out to the Big Brother Naija 2020, I feel like profiling some of the housemates, and Ozo is first on my list. You all know why. Because he's the most handsome. Born from a highly educated family, Ozomina Joseph Chukwu, who was born on the 3rd of August 1993 in Lagos, Nigeria, originated from Imo State. He is the third and only male child with 3 well-educated sisters. His father is a medical doctor and mother a university professor. Also had his primary and secondary education in Lagos, and in 2010 gained admission into the Kharkiv National University of Radio Electronics, one of the oldest technology universities in Ukraine. In 2014, he graduated with a first-class degree in economics and cybernetics. What that means, I don't know, so please don't ask me. In 2016, he proceeded to the Riga Technical University and obtained a master's degree in business and financial management in Latvia, Europe. In 2017, he proceeded to the Riga University, the largest business school in Latvia, and obtained a degree in strategic communications for leadership communications and media studies. Also trained as a professional scout football association in England. Apart from having his own clothing line, Ozo is a human resource and compliance manager for one of the biggest Nigerian companies, a chemical manufacturing company. He has also worked as a sports journalist, and the list goes on and on. In the Big Brother house 2020, Ozo is the most educated and however is respected by his colleague housemates. He is currently the HOH, I mean the head of house. Well, thanks for joining us. That's all we have time for.
Well, that was the entertainment update. The memes got me cracking up here. So in the news, the main points again. The outgoing UN resident coordinator to Sierra Leone, Sunil Segal, outlines his achievements made during his term of office. He said that he is leaving the country with mixed feelings as his tour of duty ends after 4 years in the country. The Political Party Registration Commission, PPRC, is to set up a 5-man committee to conduct investigation on the spate of hate speech. PPRC has vehemently condemned the spate of hate speeches by people using social media and is calling on political parties to come out and do likewise. And the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth Affairs, Andrew Sori, has said that a policy review in the 21st century for youth affairs is critical. Is critical to the development of youths in the country. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of the news. Thanks for sharing your time with us. My name is Daphne Zakama. Stay tuned to the SABC. Good night.